Aditya, what do we know about the fate of the 200 plus hostages still being held by Hamas?
Well, firstly, Sandeep, the top priority for the IDF, which has launched this ground operation for almost a couple of weeks now, is to secure the release of the hostages. The initial number given was about 240. At least 4 of them were repatriated, they were returned.
Foreign nationals.
Foreign nationals mostly. And now 2 bodies have been found. And these bodies have been found when Al Shifa hospital was there was a combing operation that was underway there. And a building nearby was also searched where the body was retrieved. And immediately there was identification done and it was found that there were these 2 women. But the circumstances under which the killing happened or the Hamas killed them at point blank range was very unclear. It's increasingly possible now that the Hamas has vacated all their command centers and launch pads, which are mostly underneath these hospitals, including the Al-Heli and the Al-Shifa hospital, and have moved towards the south, merging with the local population. There's a lot of military gear as well as vests and clothes that have been lying at the Al-Shifa hospital, clearly indicating that the Hamas has changed their gear and shifted towards civilian clothing and then merged with the crowd towards the south of Gaza.
That's very clear, Aditya, because the videos that Hamas has released, all their fighters are dressed like civilians. There's no uniforms that they were wearing. They were all... So it's quite clear, like you said, quite possible, in fact, that they would have moved south disguised as civilians. And that's the other interesting point, that it's very likely that the Israeli operations that were earlier confined only to northern Gaza could actually move down south.
Absolutely, because one of the prime concerns for the IDF and Israel would be that still these hostages are being used as human shields. Let's remember that there are operations underway in multiple hospitals, at least half of the Gaza hospitals as per my information, and several other areas where there is intelligence of Hamas operatives being engaged with the IDF. So it's clear that many, if not most, of these hostages would have been taken to south as well as a protection, as a bargaining chip for these Hamas terrorists. Also, Sandeep, what is underway is the backdoor negotiations. Egypt and Qatar are playing a leading role in these negotiations, which are tough. The plan that Israel has given is that you have to release at least 70 of our hostages immediately.
70 hostages.
70 hostages.
So that's an increase in the number. Earlier they were talking of something like 15 or 20 hostages. Now it's gone up to 70.
Yes, so they're saying release 70 hostages, which are mostly children and elderly women. And then, we will release some of the Palestinian women and, young people who are in the Israeli prisons. And we'll also have a humanitarian pause of at least 2 to 5 days, which will also allow a lot of other trucks and humanitarian aid to enter Gaza from the Egyptian border. So talks are still underway. There isn't a headway that has been reached, but both Qatar and Egypt are hopeful that there will be some kind of a solution that will be found and there will be release of the hostages. As of now, a lot of operations are currently underway in the north of the Gaza, but unfortunately, it's not clear where the hostages really are, even though the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had clearly mentioned that we had intelligence and indication of where the hostages have been kept and would ask Hamas to release them immediately, or certainly they will kill the last of the Hamas terrorists.
So is it possible that if the hostages are found and they're rescued, that could actually end the conflict?
It doesn't seem like. Even if the negotiations are underway right now, what Israel is offering is that we will do pauses for 2 to 5 days. And we will allow humanitarian trucks and aid to come in. It's not saying that it will end the war. It's not saying that the fighting will end. It's not saying that the IDF will not enter or will leave the Gaza territory. So it's amply clear that Israel has made up its mind that hostages or no hostages, the war will continue and the end of the war would be the end of the Hamas on the Gaza territory.
And in fact, if the operations do expand in the southern part of Gaza, as you were mentioning, and there's also a lot of indications of that, pamphlets being dropped, residents in the south being asked to move into safe areas, wouldn't there be far more civilian collateral than what we have seen so far? Because the concentration of people from the north in the south.
Absolutely, there will be, but Israel on its part says that it doesn't have an option. it's been a step-by-step approach from airstrikes to the ground invasion,
Right.
and now selected buildings being targeted and areas swiftly being mopped, and combing operations underway in all these areas,
Right.
and launch pads and tunnels being specifically targeted.
Right.
They're looking for hostages, but also trying to dismantle Hamas as much as possible. From the southern part, from the northern part, they moved to the central part a few days ago. Operations have been underway there, and slowly are heading towards the south of the territory. So the question right now is, how will Israel deal with this catch-22 situation?
Yeah.
There'll be tremendous pressure from the Arab world.
Yes.
That there are millions of civilians that are there.
Right.
Already more than 1.6 million is being said that have been displaced in this current war. And unfortunately, there will be a high civilian population, even though there's been a lot of propaganda around the number of killings that have really happened, which could have touched close to 15,000 now in Gaza, as per the ministry, which is run by the Hamas officials. But as of now, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that the war is going to end anytime soon.
News 9 Plus. Download now.